My chair just fucking broke. Yo, what's up, Victoria? Yo, what's up, y'all? Man, how y'all doing, bro? I don't know why. I'm just out of it right now. I'm just chilling. Yo, what's up, Cam? What's up, Victoria? Yeah, I just started right now. Just started stream. What should we watch? Trying to see what we watch. This one looks pretty cool. Yeah, I played the new update. The Star Wars is aight. Hell yeah, Moon. That's how you're supposed to be, bro. Get drunk as fuck. What the fuck? Yeah, bro, I'm not getting off Fortnite right now, bro. You see, I'm on YouTube, bro. Moon, I made this hoe, bro. This is fire, right? And it's puff print. I use this shirt as a cum rag. I just thought of it. I was like, fuck it. Kill count.
Buff is a free app authorized by Overwolf. The way it works is you simply have Buff open in the background of a game while you're playing. You will automatically earn Buff points, which can then be redeemed into our beloved Valorant points gift card. It really
Welcome to the Kill Cast. Tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Janice.
Alright, we're basically gonna watch a movie.
At the Friday the 13th reboot, released in 2009.
Yeah, I'll send you one, bro.
After the climax of Freddy vs. Jason, both franchises lay dormant for a while. As they did, reboots and remakes proliferated, alongside the so-called torture porn popularized by Hostel and Saw.
What the fuck?
Gone was the era of Scream-like self-referential.
Bro, my fucking chair just broke. Bro, what the fuck? Bro, are you fucking kidding me right now? Bro, this hoe is broken, bro. This hoe just fucking broke. Yeah, I'm not getting on Fortnite right now, bro.
Horror comedy. Horror movies were serious again, and it was in this world the Friday franchise would be reborn. In 2003, 2 months after Freddy and Jason Ward, the Texas
after I
Chainsaw
said I was
remake
saving money too,
revitalized
bro.
that series and kicked off
I'm not
Reboot
trying to buy a new
Mania.
chair.
That movie was made by Platinum Dunes, the production company founded by Michael Bay, Andrew Form, and Brad Fuller. They wanted to remake Friday next and spent over a year working out the rights with the various studios involved. When that was settled, they hired the guys who wrote Freddy vs. Jason to write their screenplay. Mark Swift and Damian Shannon decided to abandon the goofiness of their previous film and write a Friday the 13th that took elements from the first 4 movies of the series. This wouldn't just be a remake of the Pamela Voorhees murder spree. Instead, it'd be a best-of version of the pre-zombie Jason Voorhees. That's an excellent approach for such a shallow series, and the result is a resounding success. I'm not usually a fan of remakes because I like to see things that are new, but Friday 09 justifies its existence by being a lean, mean version of the early Friday films. You heard me bemoan how slow and similar those were. This film takes the best parts, cranks the speed to 11, and gives us gold. The non-Jason characters are a weak point as always, but at least some of them are played in a committed, fun way. As for Jason himself, he's probably the scariest he's ever been. Reboot Jason is a survivalist, an agile hunter who grew up fending for himself in the woods.
Jason's so
His violence is more targeted and defensive. He's almost like Leatherface, the way he just wants to be left alone. But
orders going out Monday.
Those people are gonna wind up dead. How many? Let's find out.
This one's not even finished yet.
The movie begins in 1980. We get in the prologue, motherfuckers! This Sin City-looking opening credit scene is akin to the ending of the original film. An Alice-like counselor is cornered on the beach by Mrs. Voorhees at the end of her killing spree, spurred by the drowning of her son Jason. The counselor cuts off Mrs. Voorhees' head with a machete, giving us our first recreated kill of the film.
Bro, you're doing a sleep stream?
Was wrong about Jason drowning, though. That boy is still living, and now he's
how many followers do you have on Kick?
Already hearing his mom's voice in his head.
Kill for mother.
Now it's present day, aka 2009. Though it's never specified, the movie probably takes place in New Jersey.
Yeah, bro, we
being
might have
filmed
to,
around
Michael.
Austin, Texas.
It's
A group of
annoying.
horny teens are looking.
This really is annoying, bro. I don't know, my chair just broke. I don't know why the fuck it just broke.
Looking for a field of marijuana plants to make themselves some green.
Of course, Moon. I got you, baby.
You know how much money we're gonna make selling this weed? We're gonna make a lot of fucking money.
Yo, go copy you some shirts. I already know JK47.shop. I already know.
You absolute madman. They
$20 for a shirt. It's not bad.
end up camping near the remnants of Camp Crystal Lake, which Weedman Wade knows all about. So he gives us Jason's backstory as a campfire tale.
He watched his mom being beheaded.
Good storytelling, dude, but you're no Paul Holt. Whitney here gets bored of the backstory and steps away with her boyfriend Michael, leaving the worst characters behind. And I hate saying that about Richie.
Yo, who was that
played
fight?
by Ben Feldman. That's Ginsberg. And, I mean, lots of other roles, sure. But Richie and his girlfriend Amanda are just too damn horny.
You wanna slap that ass one more time for Daddy?
Daddy like that?
Yeah, Daddy does like it. Daddy likes it a lot.
Seriously, somebody bonk these two. I still think the final chapter is the horniest Friday, and A New Beginning is the sleaziest, but I'll give the remake title of Boobiest Friday for sure. Especially if you're talking director's cut. That thing's more boob than movie. This movie's overwhelming boobosity may have come from Andrew Form and Brad Fuller, Platinum Dunes producers who were very involved during production. They wanted the Friday reboot to be all about blood and boobs.
And it was important to
I
us
said I'm
to
playing
bring
with my
back the
dick.
nudity.
For a director, they turned to German filmmaker Marcus Nispel, who had done them well directing the successful Texas Chainsaw reboot. Also returning from the Chainsaw reboot was cinematographer Daniel Pearl, who also shot the original Texas Chainsaw in '74. I like the stark look Nispel and Pearl bring to these movies. And I like that Nispel is seen here sporting a wings cap. Wade goes weed watching, and while whizzing, gets a win. But it's short-lived. Jason's here, and he ain't looking to puff pass. I love how scared Wade gets during this attack. And I'm happy he's the first to go. Killed off screen by Jason. That dude was fucking annoying.
Bro,
now that he's
what the
gone,
fuck?
you know the horny couple's gotta go.
Oh, died,
They hear
bro.
a noise and Richie leaves to check it out. Then Jason cuts through the tent and abducts a lady like this were Friday friggin' 7. Richie runs back to the tent, only to find his girlfriend burning in a sleeping bag and his foot suddenly caught in a bear trap. He's unable to do anything as Amanda burns to death, her body spilling out of the bag after it's done. Always found that one brutal. And broiling. On the days they shot this kill, Amanda's actor America Olivo had to endure 3 hours of putting on fake burnt skin. Meanwhile, her stunt double Donna Evans had to hang inside a sleeping bag with actual fire near it. Evans also had to fall out of the bag without catching herself. That's not easy. Whitney and Mike come across Camp Crystal Lake, sitting abandoned in a dilapidated state. It's a perfect place to explore if you're into busted boob tubes and whistle collections. Mike finds
I'm
a
into
locket
that.
with a picture of a woman inside that looks like Whitney. It's a pic of Pam. We saw little boy Jason collected after her death in the intro. Jason probably still lives here, judging by that bed and the shrine they discovered. Wait, a shrine? That can only mean, yes, a Mrs. Voorhees hat! Oh, dude, those are collector's items.
I'm so
A
tired.
blade begins to pierce through the floor like a BattleBot hazard, and it goes into Mike's legs a whole bunch. The guy is already weak as shit when Jason comes through the floor and kills Mike off screen after dragging him underground. Director Marcus Nispel people wanted to avoid CG as much as possible. But since this scene had close-ups on Mike's face, actor Nick Manel couldn't use a stunt double. He just had to hit his marks as the special effects team made pre-programmed fake blades come up out of the floor. Maybe Manel could handle it though, having already faced Rob Zombie's Michael Myers when he played Bob in that remake. Whitney flees from pop-up Jason and runs back to the campsite where she finds the darkest timeline going on. Should have never let Troy get the pizzas. I mean, America has been burned to the ground. Richie's still bear trap boy, but not for long. Jason gets there, hauling ass like a motherfucker, and sticks his machete deep down into Richie's skull. This kill was the first one filmed during production. Ben Feldman had to have his leg in a hole in the ground as a nasty prosthetic was put in the bear trap. For the fatal hack, they used a machete with its blade removed on set. Then a team at Asylum Visual Effects put in the rest of the blade and made half of Feldman's face sag. Can't fake everything though.
I went home that night with footprints on my forehead.
Whitney scrambles away, but Jason runs after her and smacks her into a title card. Yeah, that was just a cold open, y'all. Probably the hottest I've ever seen. Our real story takes place 6 weeks later and follows a different group of teens, though none of them as annoying as Wade. May the force be with your swords. I really didn't like that guy. The douchiest one by far is Trent, who's such a dick he hurries a guy who's trying to find his missing sister.
Hey, are you gonna buy something? I mean, you've been up here for quite a while yapping.
The missing sister is Whitney from The Cold Open, and this guy is her brother Clay, played by Jared Padalecki. He'd have been 4 seasons into Supernatural by now. 4 seasons of like, what, 32, 33? Trent's girlfriend Jenna, played by Danielle Panabaker, apologizes to Clay before he takes off to search some more. Clay's region-wide mission to find his missing sister is similar to the subplot in Friday 4. There, Rob was looking for Jason, the man who killed his 17-year-old sister in Friday 2. Hopes Clay fares better than Rob did. If he does, it won't be with any help from the locals. He's rebuffed by unhelpful cops and ominous old ladies alike. One dude he talks to, Donnie, later heads back to a barn so he can look at porn and fondle mannequins.
You remember that special night we had? Remember when you took my virginity?
Jason was in there and is uncomfortable now, so to break the tension, he attacks Donnie the dummy fucker. During the struggle,
I'm about to fucking
Donnie
like fall off this shit.
from his face.
No, bro, I'm not checking my DMs right
The
now.
D-bag-headed Jason responds with a throat slit from his machete. Sorry, Donnie, but maybe there are mannequins you can fucking have it. Jason goes to rebag his head when he sees something far more interesting. A way to graduate from Friday 2 to Friday 3. Yep, it's a goddamn hockey mask. And Jason, brother, fits you like a glove. Playing Jason Voorhees is Derek Mears, a 6'5" stunt performer and actor. He had been in The Hills Have Eyes too, and would play a predator the next year. Mears was a huge fan of Friday as a franchise, and Jason as a character.
That's Jason. Oh, is that me? That's so wild.
He has alopecia and said that when his hair fell out as a child, he saw little
I got my money on
Jason
Moon.
as someone he could relate to. Mears could bring the scary chops to play Jason since he was a cage fighter, but he also has a background in improv comedy and is known as one of the sweetest dudes ever.
Every day, he was a pleasure to be around and just a happy, grateful guy to work with.
I just think the world of him.
Mears was recommended for the role by Scott
Oh,
Stoddard,
I gotta
who helped
pick me
bring
up
this
and fucking
Jason to
bro.
life as
What?
the movie's makeup artist. Stoddard, who also worked on the Texas Chainsaw remake, designed this Jason just like the script was written, using the best bits and pieces from the first 4 films. He took Jason's asymmetrical face from parts 1 and 4 and mixed it with his mountain man appearance.
What
from
the fuck
part
is
2.
that?
Stoddard designed a head wrap for Jason to wear like the part 2 potato sack, and resculpted the hockey mask from scratch with a design based on the one in part 3. Trent drives his friends to Crystal Lake, where his family owns a cabin. Pretty dope place, I ain't about to lie, which is probably why Trent's so prissy about it.
Guys, wash the floor, alright? Please, it's stained oak.
Like I said, Trent is a supreme
Boner.
asshole.
Yeah,
But
who wants
Travis
my
Van
touch my
Winkle
boner?
plays him so well, I actually end up respecting it.
This is an outside game.
Real dumb fact about his character, though. Trent first appeared in Transformers, made by Platinum Dunes producer Michael Bay. So Jason and Optimus Prime share a universe? That's weird. I also like the performances by Arlen Escarpeta.
Yo, Victoria, you like my shirt?
As Lawrence and Chewie, the stoners of the crew. You was later in the
Yo,
much
somebody take a
worse
picture and
Nightmare
post it in the
remake,
Discord.
While Escarpeta is currently the last person killed in a Final Destination movie. They make the most of the material they're given, which is nakedly stereotypical. All these characters care about is drinking, drugs, and getting their D's wet. Nolan and Chelsea are also here, and they're not very good friends to Trent.
Now, what does that say about me? That the second that Trent said, "Don't take my boat out," it was guaranteed that I would.
Why is this guy evil Owen Wilson? They take Trent's boat out on the lake, and to get this movie's boob quota fulfilled, Chelsea wakeboards topless. Actor
8,
Willa Ford wasn't
7,
sure about doing the
6,
scene, but said it ended
5,
up being a good time.
4,
When I left my top,
3, 2,
funniest thing is if there was nothing sexual about it for me, it was like liberation.
She wipes out hard, but don't worry, girl. Nolan's happy to bring the boat back around. Never mind, he's got an arrow through his head. But how? That boat is so far out in the lake. Might as well have been an arrow shot from Mars. The boat, without a driver, speeds right into Chelsea's head, giving her a bump on the noggin and leaving Jason
No, for
the
real,
Archer
it's the
in
truth.
peace. Yeah, Chelsea, that's
It's the
Jason the
truth,
Archer. He's
bro.
also Jason the Bladesman. He's multi-versatile. Originally, Chelsea was going to die in a sort of psychological way. Jason simply waited her
Alright,
out
chat, y'all
until she
being
got
gay.
too tired to tread water and she drowned. I think that would have been great, but the death they went with works as an encapsulation of the entire franchise. Jason stabs her with his machete and gives us a helping of boobs and blood before moving on to his next victim. I like seeing how Ford had to be pulled up by a cable system here. That's fun.
Oh my god, okay.
Clay's door-to-door search for his sister leads to Trent's cabin, where Jenna answers the door and is nice to him. She's sick of Trent, who acts like an exploding douchebag and kicks Clay out of the cabin. Joke's on you though, brah, because Jenna offers to help Clay on his search. The two of them explore the woods and eventually the abandoned Camp Crystal Lake. Then it gets dark real fast. Huh, was there some kind of time-lapse or something? While searching through the last cabin, the floor gives out. Ah, just what I thought. Doll infestation. Y'all gonna have to tent that cabin. On their way out, they hear and hide from someone coming. Jason carrying a headless body with him. When J-Man sees Clay's backpack, he goes on high alert, turning on floodlights and searching through his collection of canoes. I love this portrayal of Jason as an intelligent and savvy backwoodsman. Case in point, this tripwire that Clay and Jenna hit on their way out. It rings a bell in a subterranean layer, which is where Jason has Whitney. He's keeping her safe because she looks like his
Where the
mom,
fuck is my
which was
lighter?
pointed out by Mike before he died.
It looks like you.
This scene is longer in the director's cut, and I'm sad they cut what they did. I like Jason sharpening his machete and the whole thing where Whitney gets away for a little bit. But this kill count is using the theatrical version as far as death time codes go. Back at the cabin, horny girl Bree dances in a way so cliche, it's indistinguishable from the parody in Cabin in the Woods. To be fair though, that's kind of what they're going for here.
Let's just all be one big happy cliche.
A flaming shot causes Chewie to break an old family chair, and to calm the angry Trent down, Bree leads him into the bedroom. There, they have the most ridiculous sex scene ever, complete with porn-worthy dialogue.
Your tits are stupendous. Your tits are fucking just so juicy, dude. You got perfect nipple placement, baby.
Jenna and Clay get back to
The
the
fuck?
cabin, and I guess the threat of a killer outside is enough to make her not care that her boyfriend's banging someone else. There's never a single line from her acknowledging that that happened. Chewie is out in the shed looking for tools to fix that chair. Ah, yes, scotch, the perfect wood adhesive. He ends up breaking a light with a hockey stick, after which Jason shows up.
Are you looking for this? Cause it completes your outfit.
Jason attacks Chewie and kills him by sticking a screwdriver in his neck for a very long time. And you know the sound Chewie's making there too. You know, something like Aaron Yu had to get an appendectomy during production, but despite his stomach still having stitches in it, he wanted to go all out filming his death scene.
He starts to choke, and he's gagging, and he goes to the ground, and we end the scene. I go, dude, are you okay? What's going on? He goes, no. I had the blood in my mouth, and rather than just coming out of my mouth, I try to inhale it into my sinuses so it will come out. I go, you are far too committed for this.
Jason cuts
What?
the lights at the cabin, causing Lawrence to realize that Chewie might be in trouble.
My boy's still out there.
Guys, bro,
Go get him.
y'all don't like
Man,
the y'all don't
Lawrence
like
and
to
Chewie
watch
really
this,
do
bro.
a lot to make this movie's character
Y'all
group
can change this
bearable.
video,
He
bro.
heads
I'm
out
not
to the
gonna
shed and
change
finds
something that I like
Chewie's dead
watching.
body, then finds Jason, the man responsible for it. Lawrence puts up a decent fight and gets away momentarily, but the J-Man grabs an axe and fells the poor guy by
That's a valid
shoving it into his
point.
back. Holy damn, Jason, you could hustle at the Ren Fair, dude. Lawrence cries out for help, but Clay reminds Jenna that this Jason's a crafty son of a Pam.
He's using your friend as bait.
And so, Lawrence is left outside dying until Jason puts him out of his misery by flipping him onto his back, driving that axe through his torso. And wait, now Jason's on the roof? Don't you start that teleporting shit, mister! While Trent is grabbing a gun to take back control of the situation, Bree goes upstairs and winds up by herself in a room where the window's open. It's open because J-Man's in the house! He grabs Bree and suffocates her for a bit before impaling her on an antler-shaped clothes hanger. Guess he's leaving her out to die. The police show up thanks to a phone call from Clay before Jason cut the phone lines. Officer Brackey here had earlier told Clay to go home, but now he's ready to be helpful, and Jason's ready for him to be dead. Jason stabs him through the eye in one of my favorite shots. I love how it pans through the wall like that. Actor Richard Burgi wore a vacuform plate over his eye with a silicone appliance of a fire
I'm
poker
literally gonna die.
In
On this
keeping with
fucking
this
chair.
fool's goal to have as little CG as possible, this camera movement was done practically and looks friggin' great. The trio of survivors run outside and Trent hops into the cop car. Before he can get it running though, Bree's body crashes through the windshield. All screamed out, Trent takes off by himself and ends up on the side of a road. After nearly getting hit, Trent is beckoned forward by a truck driver. And don't worry, Trent, Jason's not driving that truck. It's just an old man. Jason's standing behind you. Trent is killed by Jason with a machete and a hay baler in the back of the truck. Ha, then his body goes off for a ride. Bye! This kill is so over the top because it needs to be. Trent's an asshole, and we spend the entire movie waiting for him to die. Jason's stab and saw was done with a simple slider device worn by Travis
Alright,
Van
whatever.
Winkle.
After this, we're going on Fortnite.
Slidey McDougal. That's what I call it.
He was then affixed to a wire system that stuck him to the right spot on the back of that truck. Clay and Jenna get back to Camp Crystal Lake, and when Whitney hears them walking around, she screams up for help. Clay finds a hatch that leads him and Jenna into Jason's subterranean hang zone. It's got a wheelchair as a reference to Mark from Friday 2. Jason's tunnel system, which was built on a soundstage, was written to explain how he could pop up seemingly anywhere. They wanted to avoid any suggestions of teleportation. This Jason isn't supernatural in the slightest. Underground, Clay finally finds his sister Whitney. Aw, that's nice. As he breaks the chains that bind her, Jason hops back down into his pad. Y'all best get the fuck on out of there. Jason sees that he has company, and that dude's fast when he's pissed. I know Jason ran a bit in parts 2, 3, and 4, but that always felt like he was pretend running. This Jason.
You said what? You said I
and
never
for
understand
squeezing
though. I
through a
just
narrow
give a
point
pair
to
of
get
people like
back above
fuck him for
ground,
the rock
Jenna
rise
is
or
stabbed through
something.
the back in a surprising kill. Danielle Panabaker is grade A final.
Yeah, I don't really
material.
don't know
Can't
the-
believe she's gone in a
know the
flash like
com-
that. Clay and Whitney
that, I
climb
don't
out through
know,
a school
bro,
bus
it's
and run
just-
through the rain to a
Scary
farm.
movies
It's
be
where
freaking
Clay had talked to
confusing
Donnie
sometimes.
earlier. You know, when
I don't
Donnie
know.
was using a wood chipper. So
So-
yeah, that thing's here. As Clay is looking
My
for
favorite
weapons,
scary movie's
Jason pulls the old
probably
Feldman pants shitter and jumps through a window exactly like he did in the
Drag
final
Me to
chapter.
Hell's pretty
He and
cool.
Clay fight for a bit, and it's honestly kind of even. I mean, both these dudes are pretty much the exact same height. The wood chipper gets turned on, and Jason sees it as a quick opportunity. Why, with this, he could kill Clay in a New York minute. Before
It's
he
just
can,
because
Whitney steps
YouTube's
out to
like,
do
I
the
don't
Mama
know, it's
Voorhees
really
act.
weird about curse
Jason.
words.
Yep, she's imitating Mrs. Voorhees. Since
So I just tried to
remember,
do
she
it,
looks
but
like her. It's in the locker.
I don't know how
It's
to
a
work
move
it, to
borrowed
be
from
honest, so,
Ginny
but
in
I guess
Friday
fuck's
2,
okay,
and it works just
but
as
I gotta
effectively
fix
here.
it.
The distraction allows Clay to get some chains around Jason's neck, which Whitney then tosses into the
Yeah,
wood chip.
I swear,
the
I don't
gears
know
pull
how they
Jason
didn't-
up and start to hang him from
Yeah,
the
why
rafters,
didn't they- why
reminding me
didn't
of what
Streambot
Chris Higgins did to the J-Man in
took
part
out
3.
Michael?
But nothing from the older movies matched
Or
Jason's fate here, which is only sealed after Whitney hits
fucking
him with a Yo
Moon.
Mama joke.
Or Epic. That's weird.
Whitney's actor Amanda Rigetti didn't even want to say that line.
I fought that tooth and nail. I was like, guys, really? That's cheesy.
Cheesy or not, she kills Jason when his head goes back into the grinder. And yeah, I'll count him as dead here. In this timeline, he's not a Superman or anything. The sun rises, and they toss Jason's body into the lake, followed by his mask and his mama locket, both of which sink to the bottom. And I'm still saying he's dead.
I don't know why
until
he's
he
not
pops
fucking
up
with
through the dock
Epic.
at the end. I feel like that's more of
guess
a
he's scared of
reference to
Epic.
all those chair jumper dream endings than an actual canonical statement that Jason Voorhees somehow survived. How many bodies did we find at our last stop on the Friday recount train? Let's find out and run like Jason.
Bro, I was tweaking when I just
Kick
do that.
Creator Incentive Program. They're gonna pay an hourly to streamers just for streaming
characters and
Bro, what the fuck?
Oh, that diabolical snooze button. Sure, see.
Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at Freddy vs. Jason, released in 2003. In our modern age of crossovers and shared universes, it's difficult to overstate how cool it is this movie got made. Sure, the Universal monsters had hung out with each other, but that was half a century prior. In 2003, dream matchups between iconic characters were still mostly relegated to comic books. This was a big budget showdown between the Dream Demon of Springwood and the hockey masked Machete Man from Crystal Lake. It was an event so monumental, they held a weighing in at the Vegas Bally's a month before the premiere.
What's the matter? Can't you speak for yourself, hockey puck?
The owners of these two
that would
horror
probably
titles have
badass.
been trying to make some form of Freddy vs. Jason since the late 80s. After 15 years, the movie had become the bastard child of 100 rewrites. 18 drafts were done by 12 screenwriters, some featuring a cult of so-called Fred heads, some with even weirder shit. You don't want to know. Mark Swift and Damian Shannon finally came up with a premise that didn't suck. Freddy has lost his powers because the kids of Springwood have forgotten who he is. To make them remember him, he resurrects Jason from hell and sends him on a killing spree. Then, like so many other evil masterminds, he loses control of his subject and the two go head-to-head. Freddy vs. Jason found a champion at New Line in Stokely Chaffin, a longtime horror fan who produced I Know What You Did Last Summer, and I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, but she did not produce I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer, so she cool. After meeting with dozens of directors, she hired Hong Kong-born Robert Yu. Yu wasn't super familiar with either series, but had just directed Bride of Chucky. He imagined Freddy vs. Jason as a pro wrestling-like event with two larger-than-life figures going all out against each other.
I just want to make sure that there's enough blood there.
Dude succeeded in that regard, and others. Everything involving Freddy and Jason is great. They each get to shine in their own segments that feel tailored towards their types of terror. You have nightmarish scenes full of supernatural creepy stuff and scenes with senseless slaughter. Great! Even better is that the two of them square off multiple times, each bout better than the last. You grew up a comic book fan, which infiltrates the visual language of the film. He's an imaginative guy who could mentally storyboard his movies, and he has a lot of fun with colors. Aside from the annoying low frame rate slow motion, which I hate, I think he made a great looking film. But Yu wasn't as interested in working with his actors, a mix of Americans and Canadians, since this was filmed in Vancouver. Their parts are poorly written, and their lack of direction is clear. I don't need all these meatbags to have rich, in-depth backstories, but at least make them somewhat likable. The folks running around here are just annoying. And don't say it doesn't
congratulations,
matter,
Victoria.
We've seen plenty of likable characters in many Friday.
My friend just had a baby.
I think these jerks are more just
well, not really. He's 8 months now, but
nasty cynicism and that nihilistic sarcasm bleeds through
cool.
Here. One last note: this movie's got flashing and strobing lights constantly.
My mom had to have a
Maybe avoid this
C-section.
video if that's gonna affect
Swear to God, bro.
Otherwise, let's see if the ultimate
get her
matchup
stomach
can
cut
deliver
open.
some ultimate kills. The movie begins in a boiler room, because Freddy's first build in this battle. He also gets first kill. This poor little girl he murders off screen. Hey, what you doing with that picture, dude? This ain't the Nightmare remake yet. Please stop. He narrates his origin, like how he was killed by angry parents, though he does leave out that his powers came from a deal with dream demons. I want it all!
yeah, I'd be forgetting everything I'd be saying like half the time.
Open up, and you shall be forever. Why wouldn't you mention that, Fred? Freddy's become powerless because kids have forgotten him. Make them remember, he's gonna wake Jason up from hell. Best way to do that is with a whole lot of naked lady flash, provided here by Odessa Monroe. This very same year, she flashed her boobs on a motorcycle in Final Destination 2. Big year for her boobs. The maniacal mammary plan works, and Jason chases Heather into the woods before killing her with a machete stab.
You already have a baby named JJ? Oh, that's so
Heather,
nice.
You only count as one kill. Don't try that
Fire
face
name.
morphing thing to inflate the stats.
Your baby has a fire
I'm
name.
counting Heather, even though she's a dream, just like Jason's mom is a dream. It's Pamela Voorhees, played by Paula Shaw. Betsy Palmer was offered the role, but said the dialogue sucked too much.
You promised me you'd kill all those people.
I'm an actress, for God's sake. Don't give me some dumb line like that.
Pamela directs Jason to get up and kill the kids of Elm Street. It'll really help a mother out. And by mother, I mean Freddy. Playing Freddy Krueger for his 8th feature film was Robert Englund, of course, the man synonymous with the character.
Notice who gets top billing.
And honestly, who wouldn't want Englund hanging around?
It's hard to get your motivation when he's being so nice all the time.
When it came to Jason, Kane Hodder seemed
Yo, this movie was
obvious
so
to Freddy
badass,
fans and Sean
bro.
S. Cunningham.
Yeah, he's
But New
3
Line kept
crazy as fuck.
Cunningham
That my
distant
baby
from
was
the
gonna be
project,
wild. Hell
in
yeah.
part
I used to have
because
all
of Jason
silver
X's
teeth.
failure. Hodder also suffered from association with his Friday films, which were usually regarded as pretty bad. Additionally, director Ronnie Yu said he wanted his Jason to have expressive eyes. Whereas Freddy was pure evil, the audience could get emotionally invested in Jason. So maybe Hodder's rage.
But why Freddy Krueger look actually scary, bro? I remember that Freddy Krueger was scary
I've
as
heard people
fuck.
blame you while he and others
That
blame
one was
nameless
scary, bro. He
studio
was a
execs.
scary. That was a
decision
scary ass
not to
Freddy Krueger
use
back then.
Kane Hodder really had nothing to do with Ronnie.
But at the end of the day, I just feel bad that
I used to have silver teeth, like all silver teeth.
especially after publicly
When I was a baby, I'm not even back when I was like a toddler. I was so bad, bro.
Instead of Hodder, Jason was played by 6'5" Canadian Ken Kurzinger, a stunt coordinator in his own right and occasionally an actor. We saw him as Palm Mutant in Wrong Turn 2. Kurzinger had played a New York cook manhandled by Jason in Takes Manhattan, where he also doubled for Hodder as Jason in Two Shots, getting hit by a car, and I think when they did the third rail bit in the subway tunnel. While I don't like this Jason sad droopy eye, I think Kurzinger does well reinventing the character. Gone is Hodder's heavy chest breathing and moving his head before his body. This Jason would be new, and to prove it, you gave him a new hockey mask. This one's brown
Reggie
has
Pack?
sheep's
Shit.
head again, and is free of the Chris Higgins axe mark. Jason heads to Elm Street and the most famous house on the block, inside of which a bunch of teens are drinking, smoking, and lasciviating. Lori, who lives here, is trying to ignore this Blake bloke.
You know about feng shui?
She doesn't get help from her friend Kia, played by Kelly
this is
Rowland
some
during Destiny's Child's
gas,
3-year hiatus. Blake
This
was
is
brought here
some
by his bro
fucking
Trey, the super
gas,
douchey boyfriend to Lori's friend Gib.
No
Oh, babe.
fucking cap.
Tell you about kissing me after you smoked, huh? Babe, make me ask you twice.
Don't make me ask twice.
You know I don't like to be touched.
No,
okay?
Babe, no touchy. Jason appears in the bedroom and kills Trey by stabbing him about 10 times with a machete. Impressively, Trey holds on to his beer the whole time. Good job, Trey. Spoke too soon. Babe, you know I can only sleep when I'm shaped like a bee. The kids run screaming until they find the police. The older cops recognize the Freddy Krueger house and try to keep his name under wraps. They fail, and Lori overhears them, then repeats the name to herself as she falls asleep at the police station. That's basically an express pass to Nightmareville, USA. Population, a bunch of creepy kids on missing child posters, and one little girl who ain't got no eyes. Little eyeless Annie orders Lori to tell everyone about Fred Krueger, and to help her remember his name, here's a song. Yo, I know this is like the third reunion tour for the Jump Rope Girls, but I'm getting those tickets anyway. I'll take any performance I can get. Since Freddy's in Lori's head now, he wants to try killing again. He decides to go after Blake, who graduated from the Nicolas Cage Acting Academy.
My best friend was just killed, Dad.
Blake's Alex Jones-looking dad there is played by Brent Chapman, who got killed by Michael Myers in the beginning of Halloween Resurrection. Blake drinks himself into a nap, and Freddy attacks him using Shadow Swipe. It's not very effective.
Okay. I'm alright.
Freddy tells the viewers that while he's still weak, Jason will have to keep killing. J-Man's already ahead of him, as Blakey wakies to find his dad decapitated on the porch. Blake grabs the head and hilariously tries to use it as a shield when Jason murders him. Now it's time for the nightmare-flavored characters of the film, as opposed to the more Friday-like group of kids all drinking and sexing. Lori's estranged ex-husband Will and his buddy Mark are institutionalized at West End, the psychiatric hospital from Nightmare 3 Dream Warriors. Will is played by Jason.
Yeah, you're dumb, bro. My dogs are
directed
fine.
by Ronnie Yu in Bride of Chucky. Mark is given an energetic
like the
performance
worst.
by Brendan Fletcher, who was solid in the
No one even died from weed.
Will sees on the news that there was a murder at Lori's house, so Mark uses his butt cheeks to steal some keys and they escape. At school, Lori tells her friends about the burnt man from her dreams, and Mark shows up to keep yelling about Fred and turn Lori into a teary baby. He also scares, Evangeline Lilly? Girl, you've got an oceanic flight to make. With the good word of Fred circulating around, Kia has a dream about it. I didn't realize this nose picking was half practical. They made a mold of Kelly Rowland's nose and designed nose innards behind it, then filmed it with the glove reaching out and pulling out the nose in front of green screens. They also filmed real finger knives in Rowland's nose, with the gloves by VFX supervisor Ariel Velasco Shaw. He and VFX producer Kevin Elon tried to incorporate practical effects whenever possible, even when it came to stuff like the face-morphing tree victim in the beginning. Sometimes they ran into issues, like with the blood drops in Lori's police station nightmare. They wanted to do those practically, but it didn't look right, not even with special prosthetics on a green screen. Doesn't look awful, considering how hard it is to fake fluids. Springwood's having a cornfield rager where glow sticks in slow motion substitute.
Like, bro, it's 2, 3 in the morning, and you're trying to go, like, bro, you're honestly, like, bitches for sure getting fucked, bro.
We don't have time for data dork right now.
You tear me down to make yourself feel better because you really hate yourself, which is kind of pathetic when you actually stop and think about it. Assuming
After I'm done, I'll tell her to use this shirt.
Makeup weighing down your
See what it says?
I don't like either of them, nor the goofy bully Shaq who pulls Linderman down and douses him with beer. In fact, I wouldn't mind these characters dying. Anyone know where? Oh, Jason, I was just about to call you, man. Before he can get to business, a mournful Gib sneaks away to cry about her dead boyfriend. Oh, hey, Gib, there he is, as a decapitated head. Gib's played by Catherine Isabel, who we've seen in Bones in the Carrie miniseries. She's worked a ton in horror, most notably as Ginger in the Ginger Snap films. That horror pedigree doesn't stop her from falling asleep in court.
Bro, I sent you 5 cards.
Nightmaring, she's treated to a parade of Freddy
Hope your
Krueger
grandfather.
classics.
I hope
When
your
Freddy
dad
goes
opens
for
that
the
bitch,
kill,
bro.
Gibbs' chest explodes in his face. She's been impaled in real life along with a would-be rapist, courtesy of Jason, who chunks the guy into the air. See ya! Aw, is there a killer who's whiny he didn't get that kill?
She's mine! Mine!
Yes, there is. Listen, Fred,
You already know, bro. Them Fort carts. Fucking
Don't
Mario
complain
carts and
when it
shit.
shows up working perfectly.
Fortnite carts.
Jason keeps the kills coming with a bad-looking head twist on this random jock dude. Damn, that looks shitty. Shaq uses Everclear to light Jason on fire, which makes sense because it's high-proof. But now Shaq's got a bigger problem, since Jason continues to chase him during a bitching fire stunt. After a short chase, Jason's like, boom! Throws his blade in the air for a stab. It goes through Shaq's body, goddamn! I swear, I'm just telling you the facts,
bro.
how Jason
For the hat, bro, half pound
for
fucking 800, bro. That's not even that bad, bro. Swear to God, not even that bad, bro.
Background bodies. They're not dressed like any of the other 6 kills, which are mostly pretty bad, by the way. You can see this guy's blood contraption underneath his shirt, and this dude goes down bleeding even though Jason clearly misses him. I've never been a fan of the rave massacre scene, but the more I learn about the fire stunt, the more
No, it
I'm
wasn't
impressed.
800. I'm
Ken
tripping. That
Kirzinger
bitch was
wanted to do it,
675.
They didn't want to risk their Jason actor.
This was 675 for a half pound and 800 for the full pound.
A high-temperature resistant material, which was then slathered
Bro,
in
bro's prices is
fire-resistant gel.
crazy,
He looks
bro.
like a greasy baby there.
Yeah, it looks
they
like
filled
cum on his
gloves
face.
with it too? Gross. On top of the gel, an accelerant was sprayed to ignite quickly and keep the fire going. Ennis had to breathe through an apparatus in the hockey mask as he walked 75 feet fully engulfed in flames. The smoke blocked his sight, so he had to do it blind, directed by a radio in his ear. Watching what went into this stunt makes me more forgiving of these lame-ass kills. Who cares if a blood-spraying prosthetic is visible? They had a man on fire there! The important thing was making sure they put him out.
That was the last burn scene with Glenn Ennis, ladies.
Silly Willy shows up and helps the other characters get away. He drops them off.
Yeah, no fucking way, no pounds, $200.
One time,
Corn.
years ago,
With
he
some
walks
fucking
through her
corn.
window as Lori's dad killed her
Half
mom.
120.
Shitty dad, dude. Together, they go to Mark's since he's their Freddy.
Yeah, you're getting fucking robbed,
buddy.
buddy.
Dozed
What
off
the
on his feet
fuck?
and now he's dreaming about his dead brother. Great casting of these two as siblings. Brother Bobby looks just like Mark, only with yellow eyes. So help me God, yellow eyes! I'll put Bobby on the count now, since we see him in his disturbing death state, murdered by Fred
That's fucking
Krueger,
crazy.
but deemed a suicide. Mark gets attacked in a nightmare-style scene that ends far too quickly. We all know Freddy does great work in the bathroom. Will and Lori get there just in time to watch Mark get murdered in his sleep. Krueger sends him out with a message and a branding
Freddy's
that kinda
back,
looks like the
bitch.
Fight Club soap, IMO. There's a summit of
That
awful
shit look yummy,
characters
I
in
eat
the
that.
basement of Stoner Freeberg, who should probably be out looking for his missing Silent Bob.
And screw that clown. Now that big-ass motherfucker back at the cornfield. Alright, that's who we should be afraid of. Come here, who the fuck that was.
They're joined by Deputy
Bro, I
Stubbs,
miss the
newbie
green
to
bottles.
Springwood, who's been kept
The
in
green
dark
bottle
about
sprites were the
Krueger
best
by his boss,
sprites.
Sheriff Williams. Williams is played by Gary Chalk, another beacon
He
of
got
light in
so
the inky black
stems.
turd of Leprechaun origin.
Yo,
Stubbs is
that's
played
fucked
by
up.
Lachlan Monroe, now known for Riverdale.
Why would they do
but
that,
to
bro?
me, he'll always be the Ryan Phillippe knockoff in Scary Movie. Stubbs has learned about Jason Voorhees and tells the others his backstory. Big Brain Will puts the pieces together real fast.
I mean, what if Freddy brought Jason
Bro, the green bottle sprites. Y'all remember how they changed the green bottles to the clear bottles?
back?
The green bottles just tasted. I
Because
feel like
he
they
was too
tasted
weak to go
different, bro.
after us on his own, so he used Jason.
Shit, dude, you nailed it. That is this movie's plot. This scene is all plot stuff with the clunkiest of dialogue.
Freddy died by fire, Jason by water. How can we use that?
This wasn't part of the original script written by Mark Swift and Damian Shannon, but that thing was 130 pages long and would have run an estimated 2.5 hours. To fix it, director Ronnie Yu brought in writer David S. Goyer, who had written Blade and who would go on to co-write The Dark Knight. He also wrote Demonic Toys. Don't ever forget that, Dave! Goyer condensed the script, giving the movie its enjoyable breakneck pace.
Making scenes that were 3 scenes before into one scene, and when they can do that, that one scene becomes a lot more dramatic and a lot more interesting.
The only downside is exposition dump shortcuts, like this scene and when Freddy freaking talks to the audience.
Not strong enough yet. Well, I will be soon enough.
Test screenings, which we usually complain about, also help streamline the film. They
Oh,
let
you said
people move
the guy that we
scenes
smoked
with forced
stems with me
emotional
as the
and
smoke.
even got rid of the occasional cheesy line.
Freddy versus Jason.
We didn't even get high, but he was saying he was fried.
Lori
You
has
think
a
he was fried?
nightmare where her friends become mean and her dad dad makes
Bro,
out
this
with
chair's
her,
gonna
but
die.
she's gonna have to wait to analyze this Electra shit. Right now, she's gotta push Rachel's head away and bring his ear into the real world. Wait, the real world? Yes, that's right.
Maggots.
Just like Nancy Thompson learned in the original Nightmare, this may be the key to defeating Freddy. The kids remember Hypnosil, the dream-suppressing
Yo,
drug
Moon,
that
I'm gonna
was
give you some
introduced in Nightmare 3, so they sneak into Weston Hills to steal a supply.
Some back shots.
They won't have to worry about the security guard either. That guy gets crushed with a door by Jason following them inside. During their hospital heist, Freeberg stays behind to light one up. Must be some heavy shit, because now this Freddy Pillar bug bro is here, breaking out the hookah like this were Wonderland. The Freddy Pillar almost got cut to save money, but I'm glad they kept it in. I also love seeing these hilarious pre-visualizations of the effect, and the practical maquette they used on set. After a buzz shotgun, Berg winds up with the slug down his throat, and you thought we were done with Jason Goes to Hell, didn't ya? Now Freeberg's possessed by Freddy, so he dumps all the Hypnosil down the drain. Linderman stumbles upon him just in time to give this hilarious reaction. Dude, no!
Making a text-only design used to take hours of hard work trying to figure out how to get the right adjustment.
Oh my fucking god.
Jason joins the party and secures a kill with a second-hand Voorhees special. He grabs onto Stubbs and electrocutes him by means of a machete and electrical shit. I love how this doesn't seem to bother Jason one bit. J-Man chases after the others, but Freaky Freebird don't flee with them.
Let me handle this, bitch.
He's got 2 supersized vials of drugs and sticks them into Jason with vigor. Before the J-Man collapses completely, he slashes Freeberg in half.
Bro, I keep doing
that's
that
how you
shit.
treat a
I'm
body
really
you're
gonna-
borrowing, Fred? It's like returning your
I'm
friend's
gonna buy a new
car on
chair.
empty. The passed out Jason winds up in a dreamland boiler room where Freddy attacks him bathed in red light. At first it seems like Jason's got things under control, but this is Freddy's world, bitch. So let's get ready to roll! Fred, don't scratch up the mask. Dude just got a new one. Come on. Freddy plays pinball with Jason's body, thrusting him back and forth with some booyaka booyaka.
Shit,
This is
dude.
apparently
My
where
allergies
Freddy's
right now
stunt
is
double
crazy.
was Rey Mysterio, but I can't find any details about it or clips of people talking about it. The nightmare ends with Freddy learning that Jason has a fear of water. A plot point so stupid, Swift and Shannon vocally disown it.
I just want to put the record straight. We never said.
Bro, I got bad allergies right now.
Never wrote that. That was not in our script.
They had intended to suggest Jason might have a fear of drowning, but during the revision process, that got changed. It's absurd, given that we know Jason's an accomplished swimmer. He's got an underwater hang zone with naked chicks, dude. He swam from a sinking ship
Bro, I'm
all
about
the
to
way to the
fucking
New York docks.
throw this
Speaking
shit
of which,
away.
are we sure this water isn't New York?
No, bro,
toxic
it's my
waste?
nose
Then
is just
turn
stuck. It's
Jason
like
into
nothing's
a
coming
little
out,
naked
bro. I be
boy.
trying to
Come
blow
on,
this shit.
movie.
Nothing
Nobody
coming
wants
out,
to
bro.
see
It's
this
just stuff is
again. Freddy finger hacks Jason's brain, and I guess I'll count 8 brain bodies here. 2 in the foreground, 1 that Jason's dragging, a couple of heads in the background, and 3 bodies floating in a closet. No, not you, Heather. I already counted you. The inner workings of Jason's mind required a combination of practical and visual effects. Production designer John Willett built Jason's slanting house in the middle of Bunsen Lake in Vancouver, British Columbia. Willett also recreated the Freddy house on Elm Street using a lookalike they found. I'm surprised I didn't notice it wasn't the original. I love that house! The visual effects team added the atmospherics and comped in Jason's closet full of floaty, soggy bodies. As with their other effects, they tried to go as practical as possible, but they often ran into issues that forced them to use CG. Like in the pinball sequence, they originally filmed a stunt performer on wires making impact at various points. They only wanted to animate him in between the hits. But then Ronnie Yu saw a version that was all CG.
And Ronnie saw it, he's like, oh, that, I like that. That's what I want. And it became like, you want that?
The kids take Jason's passed out body and start driving from Springwood, Ohio to Crystal Lake, New Jersey, at minimum a 6-hour drive. Their plan is to get Jason on his home turf, where he's strongest, then pull Freddy into the real world and watch Jason beat his ass. Lori puts herself to sleep so she can abduct the Fredster from Dreamland. She finds herself at Camp Crystal Lake in the 1950s, where Jason's a boy getting teased by other campers, and Freddy is a counselor who's fucking a dead chick? What the fuck, Fred? Lori tries to help Jason, but Freddy holds him down, causing him to drown in real life. He wakes up, and in the commotion, the van crashes and sends him flying. See ya. Jason disappears from Dreamworld, which pisses off Fred and turns him all sorts of red. I absolutely love this flying Freddy shot, and I dig how nasty his makeup looks here. really cranks up the guy's evilness. Freddy's demon look was designed by Bill Terazakis, a Canadian makeup artist who worked on tons of horror movies, including Wrong Turn 2 and Final Destination 2. I was hoping to meet Terazakis one day, but while writing the script, I learned that he passed away in June at only 55 years old.
Crazy,
really
what?
bummed out about that. Rest in peace, man. His work here is dope. He added a layer of musculature over Freddy's classic look, then gave him sharp teeth and scary contact lenses. Speaking of Freddy's classic look, it was applied by Pat Murray and Margaret Jaworski. The foam latex pieces were airbrushed ahead of time, then stuck on Robert Englund's face, which was covered in an adhesive.
It's evolved over the years. Now it's, they wouldn't have been able to do a single piece this large.
Put on makeup for this motherfucker.
It took 3 hours to put on and 1 to remove, but
Can't
England
they
says
do
the
it
latex was porous and could at least breathe a little. Laurie's stuck in a nightmare back at her house on Elm Street, and in it, she sees what really happened to her mom. Her dad didn't kill her, it was Freddy freaking Krueger.
I've always had a thing for the whores that live in this house.
Don't you call Nancy Thompson a whore, you bastard! Laurie trips over some buckling floorboards that would be awesome if not for the strobing lights and choppy slow-mo.
Welcome to my world, bitch.
Fix your world's frame rate, bitch. Laurie's friends carry her the rest of the way to Camp Crystal Lake, where they're shortly joined by Jason. He Kool-Aid mans his way inside a cabin and accidentally starts a fire. That wakes up Laurie and allows her to grab Freddy and bring him into the real world. Now it's time for round 2 of FPJ, a relatively short Inferno match that has some decent spots. I like when Jason runs Freddy through the windows. He looks like Cabal doing an X-ray. This bout ends with Jason flinging Freddy into the air and through a roof. Before Laurie and Fred even joined the party, J-Man was already flinging folks around. That's how Linderman wound up impaled through his side, which is why he's now bleeding against a tree. I like that he and Kia were given a little arc together, even if it wasn't well executed. He tells her he'll be fine and that she should go help the others, but he was lying. He will not be fine. That dude deader than a lecherous camp counselor. Kia gets back to camp and talks mad shit to Fred Krueger with some dialogue Swift and Shannon stress were not written by them. She doesn't realize that she's backing up right into Jason Voorhees, who sends her flying to her death against a tree. Again with the choppy slow-mo. I wish someone had told Ronnie Yu, no, 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 no. We're back to Freddy versus Jason again, and this last bout has got some length to it. After a regular brawl, Freddy starts launching huge tanks at the J-Man. He's hit and flies backwards with a great wire stunt that lands him at a construction site, a vestige of earlier story drafts that involved a housing development subplot. Freddy impales Jason with a bunch of rebar and knocks him around silly with a swinging cement mixer. This entire final sequence was a heavy lift for stunt coordinators Monty Simons and Scott Attia. They had already dealt with the intense cornfield fire stunt and flinging Ken Kersinger out of a van spinning around on a giant gimbal. Now they had to do a ton of wire stunts, requiring the expertise of veteran stunt rigger Kurt Bond, who passed away in 2017. Rest in peace. The stunt team was grateful for the stars they worked with. Kersinger was of course a stunt coordinator himself, so professional he could finish a scene even with his foot accidentally stuck in a box. The 55-year-old Robert Englund wanted to do as much as he could, which is why that's him hanging upside down in the cement mixer and doing his own underwater shots. But for the high-flying wire stunts, Doug Chapman stepped in, meaning he's the guy who flew through the air at the awesome dock shot. Man, that looks like it'd be so much fun to do! F and J fight back and forth until a cart launches them to the final fighting stage, the Crystal Lake docks. There, we get our biggest hits and most voluminous blood sprays. I appreciate that it's filmed in long shots instead of quick cuts. Don't give me that Kevin Dunn bullshit.
Just put a camera there and let them chop each other out.
Freddy cuts off Jason's fingers, leaving him with a handful of chodes. Then he takes Jason's machete and dual wields the two iconic weapons. Finally, he sticks his finger knives deep into Jason's eye holes and chest. Meanwhile, Laurie and Dipper Pines have been dousing the dock in gasoline. She runs with a torch like an Uruk-hai at Helm's Deep and lights it all ablaze. That puts the fear of God into Freddy, because remember,
Freddy died by fire, Jason by water. How can we use that?
As the fire rages on, Jason rips off Freddy's arm. Fred sticks him deep with his own machete until an explosion goes off. It sends them flying in a stunt that earned Chapman and Ennis a nomination for a Taurus World Stunt Award. Wait, there's a stunt award show? With live performances sometimes? That's awesome! Laurie and Will survive, but don't you sappy sops be hugging just yet, because walking towards them with a machete is Freddy freaking Krueger. He's one-armed and pissed. Jason interferes a final time before he must go, for his people need him. Laurie finishes the job herself by using Fred Krueger's words against him.
Welcome to my world, bitch!
She takes that machete and decapitates Freddy, killing him enough for me to put him on the count. I mean, look at that body. Look at that head. I know he's gonna wink later, but the Fred is dead. Jason's not dead, though. He's just taking an underwater nap. Here's his machete for when he wakes up. Laurie and Will hobble away, the movie ready to end. At first, they weren't sure how to end it, though. Originally, it ended in hell, complete with an appearance from Satan. At one point, Pinhead showed up, but New Line doesn't even own that guy. One ending, written by David Goyer, was filmed with a PG-13 sex scene and Will possessed by Freddy Krueger. Of Jason rising out of the lake carrying with a PG-13 sex scene and Will possessed by Freddy Krueger. Originally, it ended in hell, complete with an appearance from Satan. At one point, Pinhead showed up, but New Line doesn't even own that guy. One ending, written by David Goyer, was filmed with a PG-13 sex scene and Will possessed by Freddy Krueger. They settled on a simple shot of Jason rising out of the lake carrying Freddy's head. Since the filmmakers were back in Los Angeles at this point, they used Doug Tate to play the J-Man, as Kurzinger was in Canada. Freddy, of course, was still played by Robert Englund. Look at him in that green screen shirt. Fred gets the last laugh, literally, after winking to the audience on their way out.
If you've been in a car accident, don't call an attorney. Use this AI app instead. That's what I did, and that's how I got.
With twice as many killers, did we have twice as many kills as usual? Let's find out. Was with Grace's is not a bad thing here. The ensemble cast Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at Ready or Not, released in 2019. Ready or Not is full of heightened characters and pitch-black comedy as it takes the idea of unlikable in-laws to a whole new level. The woman about to inherit a new family is Grace, played by Samara Weaving, the effervescent star of The Babysitter. And lest you forget, Samara Weaving, niece of Hugo Weaving, is an Aussie, which means she rocks out all of these roles while doing an impeccable American accent.
Weapon of choice for Grace in this scenario is whatever she can get her hands on.
Grace is marrying Alex Ladomas, whose family members are stinking rich and full of stink eye. Their wealth began when their ancestor, a 19th century gaming magnate, struck a Faustian bargain with a mysterious figure named LaBelle. And due to that arrangement, the Ladomases have a tradition whenever new people join the family. All they have to do is play a game on their wedding night. Upon completion, they're part of the family. Or dead. I mean, it's one of the two, so flip that coin, Grace. Since this Ladomas ritual was started so long ago, the current benefactors aren't even sure if it's real or not. That uncertainty not only adds an air of mystery to the movie, but is also a great way to create conflict between all these spoiled, petulant blue bloods. Although some viewers found Ready or Not a bit too comedic, I think it does a great job blending action and humor and keeping a consistent tone throughout. It's more outwardly funny than You're Next, which it's sometimes compared to, but that makes sense. These characters are much less realistic than their counterparts in that film, which, to be clear, is not a bad thing here. The ensemble cast feels perfectly in harmony, each player bringing a unique and pointed sense of humor to their character. And guiding the performers were co-directors Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette, who, along with producer Chad Vallea, make up Radio Silence, a film collective responsible for a couple of horror movies and one of the segments in VHS.
We collectively are Radio Silence.
I had a great time watching Ready or Not, even if a lot of it was spoiled by the trailer. If you're even thinking about watching it before this I recommend you pause this video and follow through. It's a lot of fun, and it's also one of those movies where I can't include all the funny lines because there are just too damn many of them.
I'll meet you downstairs, music room.
Yes, a totally normal room to have in a house.
Let's find out how many dead bodies it takes to pay for a honeymoon and get to the kills. The movie begins with a Devilman face on the cover of a game, LaBelle's Gambit. We find ourselves in a mansion with lots of games on display, and it's through these halls that young brothers Daniel and Alex Ladomas run around frantically, until the younger Alex is placed in a wardrobe to hide. A dude named Charles runs into Daniel, hurt, and asks the young lad to help him hide.
He's in here!
Aw, that's not helping Daniel. At least it's not helping Charles, as he's surrounded by masked figures. As his new wife Helene cries out, Charles is shot with a crossbow, then hauled off to die. We don't get to see his actual death behind these Les Domas doors, but just take it from Helene's somber expression. He did.
What's happening? How the heck would I know? Just shoot! Let's put an end to this.
30 years later, that little hiding boy Alex is now a man, and today is the day of his wedding. He's marrying Grace, who grew up in foster homes and is eager to inherit a family. Too bad she thinks the Les Domases hate her, partially because she and Alex have only been together for a year and a half. He tells her it doesn't matter. Although his family is rich, they also suck, which is why he's been estranged from them the past 2 years. In fact, his family sucks so much, is Grace sure she wants to join it?
I'm giving you an out. Right now.
No, thank you. I'm all the way in.
Alright, Grace, your call. The only Les Domas that Alex likes even a little bit is his older brother Daniel, played by Adam Brody, last seen on the kill count being wasted in Scream 4. Daniel's got a minor case of douchey older brother syndrome and a more moderate case of alcoholism, but at least he's complimentary of Grace.
You don't belong in this family. I mean that as a compliment.
That cannot be said of the rest of the Les Domases, who stare daggers into the bride whenever they're not openly voicing their displeasure.
You could have done so much better.
Aunt Helene here is especially grumpy cat looking, but you can't really blame her. I mean, she had to come all the way from the cube to get here. Alex's mom, Becky, played by Andie MacDowell, is kinder to Grace than most of the other family members. Becky reassures her soon-to-be daughter-in-law that she too came from a lower class and married into all this wealth, which allows her to offer some unique advice.
Stand tall and fuck 'em.
Oh, that's nice. The wedding itself is certainly nice, and just like that, Alex and Grace are husband and wife. That night, before they can get consummated, Alex tells Grace they've got a tradition to tend to.
At midnight, you have to play a game. It's just something we do when someone new joins the family.
It'll be a randomly drawn game, and Grace doesn't even have to win it. She just has to play. After that, she'll be a Les Domas. Stevens, the family butler, plays Grace into the music room where the rest of the family is waiting. In addition to Alex's older brother Daniel, his mama Becky, and his aunt Helene, this family also includes Alex's coked-out younger sister Emily, her fart-huffing husband Fitch Bradley, their two shitty little house-spawn kids, Daniel's prissy wife Charity, and of course, the family patriarch, Alex's dad, Tony. They all vary in their sentimentality.
Aunt Helene, it's nice to see you. Brown-haired niece. You continue to exist.
They head into the super special game room, a living legacy of their family's ancestry. Tony tells the tale of how his great-grandpa Victor started a company selling playing cards during the Civil War era, and how the subsequent generations of Les Domases expanded the business into sporting goods, board games, and pro sports teams. I'm a huge board game fan myself, so it was great to see the attention and care given to the Les Domas' fictional products. The boxes portray board games made by the family from throughout the ages, from the Victorian era to the 1960s to today. They were created by assistant art director Laura Hochstad, and I am seriously impressed by how believable they all look. I mean, yowzers wowzers. Tony tells Grace that the Les Domas' success all began with a benefactor, a dude named LaBelle who met great-grandpa Victor on a ship one time. LaBelle owned this puzzle box right here and bet Slick Vic that he couldn't solve it. But Victor did figure out how the Cenobite phone worked, and in exchange, LaBelle funded his business endeavors. Ever since then, new Les Domases are inducted to the family in a process that begins with putting a blank card into LaBelle's box.
Then, drawing the card, and Mr. LaBelle will tell us which game to play.
The result can be almost anything.
I got chess.
I got Old Maid. Seriously, what the fuck is Old Maid?
And And when Grace draws her card, it says hide and seek. Too bad it doesn't say the make a shit your pants face game. Alex would have won right away. Tony explains the rules to Grace. She'll hide anywhere inside the house, and after a count of 100, the family members will try to find her. And don't you worry about those security cams, Grace.
We never use the cameras. We always play the games as they would have been played in great-grandfather's time.
With that, she's off to hide. Let's get some mood music for the festivities.
Don't you speak. Hide and seek.
As Grace runs around, we get a better look at the Les Domas residence, a lot of which was filmed at the Parkwood Estate in Oshawa, Ontario, which was also used for a little movie called Billy Madison. I hear it's pretty quotable. Other parts of the mansion were played by Casa Loma, a 20th century castle in Toronto that was also Xavier's School for Gifted Students. Chelsea and I visited Casa Loma when we were in Toronto for SummerSlam, and I highly recommend a visit if you're ever there. Do the audio tour if you can. Casa Loma and the other shooting locations all play into Radio Silence's very hands-on approach to the movie's aesthetic. I love how old money everything looks, from the polished wood to the golden glow of all the candles everywhere. Production designer Andrew Stern helped achieve the perfect warm look, and all this attention to detail, just like with the art design, helps make Ready or Not one of my favorite horror movies of the year. While Grace hides herself in a dumbwaiter, Tony hands out weapons to all the Les Domases. Helene gets a battle axe, while most of the others get guns, though sadly, none of them peacemakers. Still, better than the crossbow that Fitch gets stuck with. As that amazing hide-and-seek song ends, these perfectly defined characters line up to kick the movie into Act 2 fun and games.
Ready or not, here I come.
Alex isn't partaking, and instead, after everyone else has left to hunt around for Grace, he takes some servant passages through the house back to his room. Grace gets bored waiting in the dumbwaiter and also makes her way back to the room, where Alex tells her to hush and hides her when they hear one of the maids approaching. The newly married couple watches as a Les Domas maid named Clara gets shot right in the face. Yeah, Grace, this shit's for real. The shot was fired by little sis Emily, who thought Clara was Grace, a mistake her family members roundly chastise her for making.
You're supposed to maim her. She needs to be alive for the ritual.
It takes Clara a minute, but eventually she dies, leaving her body to be dealt with indignantly by Tony and Helene.
We know you're hovering over that button, but we need your help. We have a better button, we promise. Right on time.
Learning the stakes of this game has left Grace in shock. And down in the tunnels, Alex explains that hide and seek was the one bad card she could draw. Any other game, like chess, would have been played as normal. But the hide and seek card kicks off a ritual, one where his family must murder her by sunrise. And there was no way to avoid this. Drawing a card from LaBelle's box is the only way they could have gotten married.
There are rules. You can't just elope. You have to have the wedding here, and you have to play the fucking game.
Grace is rightfully pissed at him for not warning her about this possibility, and Alex's excuse exposes his selfishness.
If I told you, you would have left.
Yeah, man, probably. He assures her they're going to get out of this together and sends her down the service tunnel towards the kitchen, while he heads to the security room to unlock all the doors. Yeah, probably a good time to lose some of that tool, Grace. Upgrade complete. Just like with the production and art design, the costuming department in this movie was on point. Designer Avery Plewis tailored each outfit to the character's personality, like a no-nonsense column dress for the practical Becky, or a tux with Godfather-like high collars for patriarch Tony. Her best work, though, was with Grace's wedding dress, which acts as a, quote, roadmap of events that have happened to her.
I wanted to create something that had a lot of coverage, texture, and length so we could take away a lot in several different stages. I think there's about 17 versions.
The continually degrading condition of Grace's dress is another great runner in the film, and is even a little symbolic, as discussed by Chelsea and me in our review on the Dead Meat podcast. At the end of the service tunnel, Grace picks the wrong door, putting her right in the crosshairs of her new in-laws. Like, literally. Good thing Emily's a shit shot.
I don't know what I'm doing!
Melanie Scrofano is so goddamn awesome in this movie. And hey, she's another kill count graduate, having been in Saw 6 as part of the shotgun merry-go-round trap. Grace gets away from them, but with everything still locked, Daniel ends up finding her in the game room. Just like when he was a kid, Daniel has to decide whether to help or not. And just like when he was a kid, he decides to let his family know where their prey is. But at least adult Daniel, who truly likes Grace and is majorly conflicted, is willing to give her a 10-second head start. Better than nothing. After Daniel calls out to the others, his wife Charity is the first to arrive, and she berates him for letting Grace go. They have a great little scene where even Charity, this relatively peripheral character, is given a backstory and justification for why she's so willing to go along with all this.
You know where I came from and what my life was like before. I'd rather be dead than lose all of this.
The fleshed out ensemble cast is my absolute favorite part of this movie, especially with everyone being so well acted. Charity's actor, Elise Levesque, is also excellent in that Pilgrim episode of Into the Dark, which we reviewed on the podcast for Thanksgiving this year. The rest of the family convenes, and Fitch says he hasn't been able to figure out his crossbow, not even with the help of YouTube videos starring the film's writers Guy Busick and Ryan Murphy. No, not that Ryan Murphy. Fitch gives the weapon to Emily, who immediately unloads a bolt into another maid's mouth. Just like with Clara, the second maid, Tina, doesn't die right away, and Aunt Helene has to put the poor girl out of her misery with her battle axe.
Oh, what the fuck?
With Dawn steadily on its way, Becky suggests that the family use their security cameras, and Tony immediately proves willing to bend their rules of traditional gameplay.
I mean, it's not tradition that he was born before cameras. That's stupid.
Exactly. Times change.
Ah, so this is a family of loose constructionists, huh? On her way to the kitchen, Grace stops to arm herself up like a big game hunter. And while this kick-ass bride soldier may be the image you saw on the movie poster, don't expect Grace to immediately adapt to that persona.
Jesus.
As brave and resilient as she is, Grace is not like Erin from Your Next, and she shouldn't have to be. But that is why she forgets to load the gun before trying to shoot her way out through the kitchen door. Grace is forced to hide as the butler Stevens comes in to do kitchen stuff. After Alex finally gets all the doors unlocked though, Grace takes her newly loaded gun and points it at Stevens in an effort to make him let her go. He won't move out of the way though, and once again, the gun fails to fire.
The ammunition is display only.
Yeah, well so is this teapot, and that seemed to work just fine. A game of blindy swipey blocks Grace from getting out, and she ends up running back to the dumbwaiter, where she finds the third maid, Dora, hiding in fear. Grace tries to help her, but Dora instead calls out to the Les Domases to put an end to all this craziness. She accidentally hits the dumbwaiter button, and the doors close with enough force that it kills her via crushing. That's how you can tell this house was built 100 years ago. They just don't give dumbwaiter doors that same kind of bone-crunching strength anymore. During all this, Alex has been having a fucking time of it, man. After smashing all the security cameras and getting into a serious fight with his dad, he finds himself handcuffed to a bed to stop him from helping Grace anymore. Tony is muy disappointed in his son, although Helene tells him not to worry. Alex was born to lead the family.
Why is he the only one of us who has ever seen Mr. LaBelle in his chair?
She knows how hard hide and seek must be for him too, because in case you didn't figure it out or just forgot, Helene was the bride in the beginning whose husband drew the hide and seek card and wound up getting murdered. Grace is determined not to end up like that guy, and is even willing to fall a few stories if it means getting out of here alive. She reverse weddings her way through the backyard and runs as fast as she can, but a flashlight's peering beam forces her to hide in the stable. Turns out the searcher is just one of Emily and Fitch's kids.
Georgie?
Oh shit! Hiya, Georgie! Unfortunately for Grace, Georgie takes out a gun and lands himself a headshot. After a moment of shock, Grace punches the kid in the face and knocks him out. Haha, yeah,
Thank you for the
Grace!
sub.
Watch out for that goat, though! Oh man, I told you to watch out for that goat! Now you're in a gross pit filled with goat bones. Aw, and people bones? Oh, hey, it's Charles, Helene's late husband. He always wore his bolts so well. Despite having a hole in one hand, Grace climbs her way out of the pit, leading to what may be the movie's most painful scene to watch. See that nail sticking out right there? Yeah, Grace doesn't. So ready or not, here it comes! Oh my god, that just hurts to see. But she powers through the pain and gets herself out of there. Good for her. After a wedding dress dressing and a cursing of the kid who shot her, Grace is good to go and makes her way out to the front gate of the estate. It takes some elbow grease and a gritty resolve, but eventually Grace escapes the Les Domas grounds. Just sucks for her that the local drivers aren't eager to be helpful.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
so funny.
With Steven's on the prowl, Grace heads into the woods. While back at the house, Tony grows more concerned over the ever-increasing possibility that Grace will survive the night. He believes that if she does, the rest of the family will all die, even though Daniel is not convinced that the curse is legit.
You think that this is a fucking game?
Yes. Hide and seek.
Daniel and Emily are put on maid cleanup duty, and after dumping their bodies into the goat pit, they find Georgie, right where Grace's fist left him. Emily says she's proud of him for trying to kill Grace. Daniel experiences something different than pride. Stevens finds Grace on the other end of a little woodsy area, but after a short scuffle, Grace manages to use her sash to choke the guy out, then gets in his car and drives away. Too bad she didn't double tap him though, because if she had, he wouldn't have been able to report the car as stolen. Since it's a fancy pants car, it's shut down remotely by a security operator named Justin, voiced by Nat Faxon.
Police are on their way.
Start the fucking car!
There's no need for profanity.
Start the car, Justin!
Stevens catches up to Grace and gives her a dose of dart juice to knock her out. He reports back to the family that he's inbound with the payload, but the obsequious bastard is too busy jamming out to Beethoven to notice when Grace comes to. After a few kicks to the face, Stevens drives the car off-road and flips it over. The violent crash is depicted in slow-motion upside-down shots, and when they finally finish, the lick spittle is dead. Grace crawls out of the accident and is immediately found by Daniel. And although she pleads for help once more, appealing to his good guy nature, Daniel says he's too weak to help her and reluctantly knocks her out. Grace has been recaptured, with Dawn only an hour away. So if Alex wants to help her out, he'd better work faster with those cuffs. He hides his prison breaking when his mother Becky comes in to tell him that although she likes Grace, they have to protect the family. Alex says fuck the family. They're weird and had him sacrificing goats as a child. Grace is way more chill and doesn't make him cut any goat throats, so he'd rather be with her than his family. But Becky says she doesn't believe him, and she knows deep down he's still Mama's little boy. The ritual is about to begin, so the family members prepare for it, each in their own special ways.
Don't be a bitch, Fitz. Don't be a bitch, bitch. You got this, bitch.
I think that was actually an ad-lib by actor Kristen Broom, who I know from Orphan Black, which had a ridiculously good first season. The final ritual preparation is placing LaBelle's box in front of LaBelle's empty chair. Grace then wakes up to find herself tied down to a pentagram table, everyone around her looking like your standard horror movie cult. See also The Curse of Michael Myers. The ceremony begins, and although it's sometimes distasteful, it seems to be going well, until everyone starts getting some seriously rumbly tummies. Spitting out blood? General fatigue? Oh, I know what your problem is.
Poisoned!
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Daniel has poisoned his family to help Grace escape, although not enough to kill them, as he tells her in the hallway.
Wait, what?
I googled it. They'll shit weird for a week, but they'll be fine.
On their way out, they're stopped by Charity, who holds them at gunpoint. She is all fucking in on that sweet Les Domas lifestyle, so when her husband doesn't back down, she shoots him in the neck. Things get crazy for Mo, so I'll just list them here real fast. Charity gets pistol whipped, Tony gets lantern whipped, a house fire gets started, and there's an attempted bow and arrowing by Becky.
In my defense, it's been a while.
Whew. Alex breaks free and comes downstairs to find Daniel bleeding out to death in the hallway. Despite his urgent pleas for Daniel not to die, that's exactly what his older brother does. Alex isn't thrilled to lose his favorite family member, and come to think of it, he's not even sure who to blame for the death. Grace fights with her mother-in-law, who's determined to keep her family safe. But with a little help from LaBelle's box, Grace turns this night into 1 wedding and 4 funerals. Or 6 funerals? Whatever. Calm down though, Grace. Becky was only doing this for her family.
Fuck your fucking family!
Haha, yeah, you right. Fuck her fucking family. It's in this murderous state that Alex finds Grace. When they last saw each other, these newlyweds were still plotting to escape together. But now, things are a little bloodier and a whole lot messier between them.
You won't be with me after this, will you?
No, man, probably not. Grace never says that, but sensing that sort of answer from her, Alex puts his hands around her face and calls out for his family. You knew his betrayal was gonna happen eventually, but you still feel awful for Grace when it does. Almost as awful as Tony feels when he finds his wife's body. With the sun just about up, there's no time to put the mansion fire out. This ritual has got to go down. So gather up the children and hold down the bride. We needs to get Rosemary's baby up in this bitch.
Hail Satan!
With a final Hail Satan, Alex goes to stab Grace, but she's able to wrest free enough to take it in her shoulder instead. One banshee scream later, and Grace is able to run out the clock enough to score a victory by countout. Cause it's daylight, motherfuckers! Better hide! Right? Aren't y'all supposed to die now? They didn't. Got anything to say for yourself, Invisilabelle?
I fucking knew it. It's all bullshit.
Bullshit or not, Helene still got that murder lust, so she goes to kill Grace anyway. Oh shit, the curse was real. Must have gotten caught in traffic or something. The hide-and-seek record begins to play as LaBelle's curse spreads to the rest of the family. The newbies go first, with Fitch and then Charity popping like blood pimples, shortly followed by Emily and her 2 kids, though that happens tastefully off-screen. Grace begins to crack up as the curse catches up with Tony, too, which she finds so funny she could snort. Is it a sudden ending? Kinda. Is it unsatisfying? Hell no! After all that doubt, the curse was shown to be real. It's also great that these kills were done, at least partially, with practical effects. Charges of fake blood and guts were blown up atop of chroma green stands, and the actors, in the wake of the explosions, were shot with little meat rifles. For the off-screen deaths, they got to use big old meat cannons filled with fake blood and mushed bananas. The cast all seemed to have a great time with the scene, and not just because the fake blood tasted like caramel.
Christian, the first thing he asked was, can I get some in my mouth? And I was like, oh no, don't worry, you don't, it's non-toxic if any. And he goes, no, I wanna get it in my mouth because I wanna do a thing where I spit it out. Is that okay? And this was, I think, day 4 we were shooting, and I went, oh, we're gonna be fine.
It really looks like Radio Silence ran a fun and effective shoot altogether for this movie, so props to them and their on-set leadership. Alex sticks around the longest and tries to make Grace stay with him, but she is just done with this shit.
What a divorce.
He's the last Le Domas to burst, leaving Grace all alone with nothing but blood on her face. Unless maybe she's not alone. Yo, did I just see LaBelle?
Fuck.
Right. In the original screenplay, though, Grace died in the end, and it was Radio Silence who wrote a 12-page alternate ending to please the crowd and go. It was Radio.
Fuck.
The last Le Domas to burst, leaving Grace all alone with nothing but blood on her face. Unless maybe she's not alone. Yo, did I just see LaBelle?
Fuck.
Right. In the original screenplay, though, Grace died in the end, and it was Radio Silence who wrote a 12-page alternate ending to please the crowd and go out on a fun note. I'm glad the producers agreed to do it, even though it meant a lot more work. Grace's hard-fought success here feels more congruent with the film's tone, as does the fact that the movie ends with a joke.
What happened to you?
In-laws.
How many rich in-laws couldn't take it with them when they went? Let's find out and... Oh my god. Why is that playing? I haven't even had my wedding yet. Am I hiding or seeking?
Whoa, how do you...
Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at Brightburn, released in 2019. Brightburn is the first superhero horror movie I've covered on the Kill Count, but it's an ever-expanding subgenre, which only makes sense given Marvel's complete domination of the box office this past decade.
Bro,
in fact,
for the 10th time, bro, I'm not finna change what I'm watching, bro. Like, that ass, like...
Brightburn was produced by James Gunn, the guardian of the Guardians of the Galaxy films, and who also wrote and produced The Belko Experiment. Although James only produced this movie, it was written by some young Gunns, his brother Brian and cousin Mark. Their script essentially asks, hey, what would happen if Superman was kind of a dick? Or more specifically, what would happen if Superman had been sent to Earth as an alien sleeper agent, only to be activated as a 12-year-old and told to take over the world? Brightburn is an okay movie, I guess. The premise is pretty interesting, and I love the way it's shot by director David Yarvo Yarovesky. But the plotting feels uneven to me, and the character decisions seem kind of stupid sometimes. It doesn't help that we barely get a good sense of the characters before the plot kicks into action, which means Brandon Breyer, the central anti-superhero, becomes way too unlikable way too quickly for this story to feel tragic at all. It's a bit of wasted potential, especially since Elizabeth Banks and David Denman do such a great job playing Brandon's conflicted parents. But if you're just here to see a cool and gory horror take on your standard superhero origin story, well, you're in luck,
When he wants to watch a live stream, I'm like,
because Brightburn is hella slick and it's got some surprisingly graphic deaths. I know that's what some of you are here for, so let's avoid another 8-minute intro and get straight to the kills. The movie begins in Brightburn, Kansas, just down the road there at the Breyer farm. Inside their home, Tori and Kyle Breyer are trying to make a baby, and not by ringing up the stork, if you catch my meaning. Things haven't been working out for them with their trips on the Spermy Expressway, but it looks like they're about to be in luck tonight. Because something just landed in their backyard. And Freddy, you want to tell them what it is?
It's a boy!
After some home movies that show baby Stardust there growing up, we jump to 10 years later with the heaven-sent diaper dirtier, now a 12-year-old boy named Brandon, played by Jackson A. Dunn. He's still quite the stinker, hiding from his mom Tori and jumping out at her like a little monster, rah rah rah. At school, he's a smart little monster with encyclopedic answers for his science teacher's questions. That earns him derision from some of his classmates, but encouragement from others.
Don't worry. Smart guys end up ruling the planet.
Subjugation, you say? One night, the barn on the Breyer farm starts glowing up more than Matthew Lewis, which causes lights to flicker and Brandon to experience scary dream voices. Yeah, that'll give you nightmare eyes for show. Brandon is compelled to fall out of his second-story window, which Tori hears from downstairs. One blurry flash in front of the camera later, Tori's checking out the barn, where she finds her creepy little space baby throwing himself against a chained-up trap door and growling passwords that fail to open it. Maybe you left caps lock on, little buddy. So yeah, Brandon is apparently activated already, which is kind of a shame. We barely know who he is or what was normal for him before he intercepted an alien transmission. We do see a bit of him as a normal kid the next day, while Kyle talks about how scared he was when they first adopted him, but I could have used a few more scenes establishing a baseline behavior for the kid. While his dad is out, Brandon sets a new PR in mower tossing. Someone want to test that kid out for juicing? Damn! And don't look now, upturned mower, but thanks to the return of those alien whisper voices, you about to get these hands. Or at least one hand, which is plenty enough to stop the blade on its own. Looks like this adolescent boy is gonna have to be extra careful to avoid death grip syndrome. Brandon has a jump cut filled birthday celebration at a local diner, where he and his parents are joined by Tori's sister Marilee and her husband Noah, who's played by Matt Jones of Breaking Bad fame, and who, for a while, was also part of an amazing musical improv show in LA called Opening Night. Noah gives Brandon a rifle, but his father immediately confiscates it, and we're left to assume that Brandon's indignant reaction is very out of place for him.
Give it to me.
I'm sorry, what'd you just say to me?
I said, give it to me.
But no one seems to notice the electrical flickers going on there, not even as they correspond with Brandon's emotions or arm movements, so Tori and Kyle just take Brandon home, embarrassed. They express concern about their son.
Worry about him. And getting older, changing.
But not once during this entire conversation do they ever acknowledge that they found him in a frickin' crater. The whole time they're talking about him, it's like they don't even know that's a thing. It's insane. The next morning, before they head out for a family camping trip, they face a couple of strange hangups. First, Brandon's all of a sudden got an appetite for silverware, and second, they find his stash of smut, which is mostly PG-13 stuff, until they get to pictures of intestines and shit. Careful there, Brandon. That'll get you age restricted. The pictures prompt Kyle to give Brandon the sex talk, which goes just as awkwardly as that conversation usually does.
He was okay to touch it or play with it.
With what?
You know, with your penis.
Okay, maybe this one's a little extra awkward. That night, Brandon takes it upon himself to act on his urges, disappear from the campsite, and pay a visit to Caitlin, that nice girl from school. I gotta admit, his abilities are a little bit confusing to me here. Caitlin wakes up to find her laptop open and playing music, and after closing it, confused, and walking back towards her bed, the laptop is suddenly reopened and playing music again. So is Brandon just like super ultra fast and opening her laptop at invisible speeds? Or is he telekinetic? I don't know, but he is hiding behind your curtains, little girl, so watch out! Or wait a minute, is he? Well, he's not anymore, but Caitlin did get a good look at who was back there.
Brandon Breyer.
Good thing BB's got a watertight alibi. He was just out there peeing in the woods. No big, Mom. Brandon's behavior grows more and more aberrant. Like, sure, there's nothing that weird about doodling superhero costumes or logos with your initials, but when you start standing in front of the chicken coop and staring at the poultry all night, that's a good sign of being cockadoodle cray-cray. That point is proven when Kyle wakes up to find all the family's egg layers dead and dismembered. Tori dismisses her husband and says the chicken killer was a wolf, despite Kyle's solid line of reasoning.
Babe, a wolf can't do this. It can't rip a freaking door off and break a lock.
And this is the first of many scenes where I'm like, what the fuck, Tori? Don't ignore the facts here. During a trust exercise at school, Caitlin causes Brandon to fall because she thinks he's a pervert, and that gets him mighty mad. So when she's forced to help him up, Brandon breaks her hand. Oh shit, he fucking wrecks it.
Erica, he said he's sorry.
What the fuck, Tori? Sorry's not gonna fuse those splintered bones back together. Brandon gets suspended from school, but to add insult to that sentencing, Caitlin's mother, Erica, makes sure to insult his adopted status.
Do you even know who his real mother is?
Brandon Breyer will remember that. Tori and Kyle have another conversation of concern, only this time they finally acknowledge Brandon's exogenesis when Tori tells Kyle she found him sleepwalking in the barn.
Did he find it?
But he was tugging at the trapdoor.
Then Kyle starts freaking out and mentions that Brandon's never bled once in his entire life, a fact that probably should have been mentioned before we were already through a third of this movie. Later that night, Tori does some celestial research and Brandon starts hearing voices again. Props to the sound design for this movie, by the way. It's some of the best I've heard in a while. Brandon is drawn to a red glow in the barn and begins to repeat an alien voice growling at him. When Tori finds Brandon, he's floating midair above the open trap door. When he falls, he cuts his hand on an object down there, and that makes him bleed for the first time in his life. That moment would probably feel more important if we hadn't just learned about the bleeding thing like 2 minutes ago. The kryptonite to Brandon's high armor class is the meteorite from the beginning, and the discovery of that space crib leads to a conversation about where he came from. Answer, that rock right there. Tori tells Brandon that she thinks of him as a gift straight from the universe, but he gets all alien angry about having been lied to his whole life, so he storms away from her and starts to break stuff. It's just one of those days, you know, when you don't want to wake up. He leaves the house, verbally repeating the alien message he just learned from that space rock until he's able to decipher its meaning.
Take the world. Take the world.
And 1 and 2 and laser eyes and good. Grand, keep it bright. Before going to take the world, Brandon stops by Caitlin's room again and delivers the scariest manifesto a young girl could ever hear.
I'm very special. You're one of the only people in the world that knows how special I am. But someday, they will all know.
Caitlin says that her mom told her not to talk to him, but Brandon tells her he's got a plan for that. Don't worry, Caitlin, he's gone now. And you know what? We can just drop your character entirely, too. Yeah, we won't be needing you for the rest of the movie. Thanks. Instead, Brandon moves on to her mother, Erica, who's currently closing up shop at the local diner. Things get spooky in a hurry, with weird symbols appearing on the windows and the ceiling lights flickering overhead. Oh, wait, did I say flickering? Because I meant bursting open. Oh, when she She got it in her eye. In an excruciatingly gross scene, Erica picks the glass shard out of her eye. It's totally gross. The experience leaves her seeing half red, which is a pretty cool effect, and with her inhibited vision, she has a hard time seeing the costumed individual appearing in various places all around her. She runs into the freezer and locks herself inside, but Brandon just huffs and puffs and lasers the door down. Erica gets one final look at her tormentor before Brandon kills her with a jump scare. Yeah, that's the way this movie's effects look. They're fine, I guess. The next morning...
Are you interested in starting your own faceless YouTube automation channel, but all people do is tell you to go to frickin' Fiverr?
Brandon comes downstairs and tells his parents that everything's perfectly all right now. He's fine. He's all fine here now. Thank you. How are you? Although his suspension is over now, Brandon still has to see his school's counselor, who just so happens to be his Aunt Marilee. Wow, talk about a rigged-ass system of justice. Brandon alarms Marilee with his talk of being superior to everyone else and his total lack of remorse for what he did.
Sometimes when bad things happen to people, it's for a good reason.
That's a yikes from Marilee, who tells Brandon that she's gonna have to tell his parents and the sheriff about his troubling behavior. Not good, Brandon, especially since the sheriff's already investigating Erica's disappearance from the diner. Aw, no, and he's getting sexy with the windows and finding those BBs everywhere? Marilee gets a house visit from Brandon that night, who tells her that she's not allowed to speak to the sheriff about what he said in school.
It's just not good for anyone.
Marilee is like, dude, you're making it worse. Get the fuck off my porch, and sends him away. But then, very stupidly, and in my opinion, unrealistically, she does not call her sister to tell her that Brandon was at her house. Instead, she just decides to go to bed, never noticing that Brandon's standing back there looking like a stranger. At a bar, Kyle laments to his buddies that his son might actually be a monster, before Noah takes off and heads back home. When he comes through the front door, the noise scares Brandon out of the hallway and into the ceiling corner of Badger's bathroom. But his invisispeed isn't quite fast enough to keep Noah from catching a glimpse of him as he de-Batmans.
Oh, shit!
Noah finds Brandon in his closet, and Matt Jones reminds us all how effortlessly funny he is.
What the fuck are you doing in my closet wearing this creepy mask?
It's not creepy.
He tries to haul Brandon outside so he can take him back home to his parents, but Brandon would much rather put his mask back on and play a game of glowy eyes. Haha, Uncle Noah, you lose. Brandon disappears, and Noah gets into his car and drives off. To where? I don't know. He could have just gone back inside his house, where his sleeping wife was, and locked the doors. But instead, he decides to go for a joyride. Brandon brings his ride a little less joy, and the impact causes his car to stall out in the road. After some scary floaty stuff and a bunch of negatives from Noah,
No.
his vehicle begins to rise from the road, ass end up. It is absolutely terrifying to see from Noah's perspective, and you really feel the power of the impact when the vehicle is dropped and hits the ground. The head-on collision with the ground doesn't kill Noah right away, but it does break his jaw right off. It is a nasty marriage of sight and sound as Noah slowly gurgles to death. And he finally dies after Brandon stares him down for a while impassively. And as if dying wasn't bad enough for Noah, Brandon then uses his blood to draw his shitty little edgelord logo on the ground. Brandon comes home to his very worried parents, and it doesn't calm them down at all when they see that he's missing a shirt. What's up with that, Bran?
I was playing soccer.
Oh, okay. He was just on Team Skins. It's cool. Having plopped out some bullshit straight from his mouth, Brandon goes up to his room, leaving his parents so flustered they talk openly about his backstory.
Maybe we need to talk to somebody. He needs a specialist.
What? And say what to him? Hello, this is our son. We found him in a fucking spaceship in the woods.
Kyle says that this is all their fault, that they should have done something a long time ago, and then goes to bed angry. You should never do that, my man, because that's a good way to have freaky-deaky nightmares. Like the one where your bedroom's in a forest, or the one where your wife adopts a space baby. Yeah, that one's always messy. Some evil glowy baby eyes wake Kyle up, where he's greeted with a phone call from Marilee at the hospital, who tells the Bryars that Noah's dead. When she mentions that Brandon was at her house shortly before it happened, Tori and Kyle grow concerned, and over an off-brand box of Pumbaa O's the next morning, they confront him. Brandon is nonchalant when they tell him his uncle is dead, which causes Kyle to pretty much openly accuse him of foul play.
That is bullshit. He is fucking lying.
Brandon goes to peace out, and when Kyle tries to stop him, Brandon shows his dad, who's the new Superman of the house, and throws him backwards through a wall. While Brandon's showering off his rage, Kyle jump cut searches his room and finds a shirt tucked behind a dresser, hidden because it's covered in blood. Better hide that discovery from your little Anthony Fremont there, Kyle. He shows Tori the shirt, but again, she won't listen to a word of it.
How could Brandon have killed Noah and then made it look like a car accident?
What kind of weird shit he could do?
What the fuck, Tori? Your son's a goddamn alien. Start putting the pieces together here. Instead, she leaves Kyle in a huff and lets the movie get back to its half-baked cop plot where the perfunctory sheriff finally notices that Brandon's symbol was on both the diner windows and the ground by Noah's accident. Kyle has a patriarchal cry as he takes a walk down memory lane to a time when Brandon was younger and much less murdery. In bed that night, he comforts Tori and tells her that he's gonna take Brandon hunting over the weekend to show that he still loves him. Aw, that's nice. After they leave the next day, the sheriff arrives at the Breyer house to ask Tori if she recognizes the symbol he keeps finding everywhere.
Doesn't that look like a BB, maybe? As in Brandon Breyer?
Doesn't look like anything to me, Sheriff. She sends him away, but is worried enough to look through Brandon's stuff, where she finally comes face to face with reality. Yeah, Tori, your kid sucks, and you've been enabling the little bastard this whole time. He's become a little bastard with big ambitions, too. All because you just couldn't fathom the idea of Brandon being a monster. But Kyle's been fathoming that idea for quite some time now, so he decides to take things into his own hands during the hunting trip. He sets his son up for a look at the rabbits moment, but even though he lands a headshot, it doesn't even begin.
Yo, after this, I'm probably gonna go to bed, bro.
To phase the kid. Oh shit, you fucked up, Kyle. You have fucked up now. Kyle spams R, but before the reload action is complete, Brandon disappears, only to reappear seconds later in his little homemade costume. He plays a round of Quidditch near his dad and knocks him to the ground, then kills his papa dearest by friggin' laser beaming him through the face. We had to get a laser beam kill in here at some point, and I couldn't have asked for a better one than this. Solid shit here.
They're coming straight in. Trust me, I've got...
Tori tries to call her husband, but it's too late. Kyle is gone forever, and Brandon's already home again. He terrifies Tori by shaking the house and doing all the stuff you probably saw in the trailer, like flying in and out through the walls a couple of times. Yeah, you get a good look at that floating mistake out there, Tori. She calls 911, which brings the sheriff and a deputy to her house. But as she comes outside to get their help, the sheriff is air tackled into oblivion, leaving very little behind for anyone to see. Damn, that was a sudden death. It's kind of awesome. The deputy sends Tori upstairs to hide under the bed, then is killed herself after Brandon appears behind her and slams her all to Kingdom Come in the background of this nifty shot. To show his work when he's finished, he tosses her corpse aside. Tori keeps herself quiet in the face of her son's floating feet and eventually sneaks away from him by hanging out the upstairs window. When she falls, she cuts herself, which reminds her of Brandon's similar injury in the barn a few days ago. And, realizing that his space crib comet may be the secret to defeating him, she runs off towards the barn. Real talk though, I don't know how she gets there when Brandon's already floating in the air and has been shown to be invisibly fast. But get there she does. And after seeing Erica's corpse and a bunch of BBs on the wall, she breaks off a convenient shard of spaceship with which to stab her son. She crawls out of the barn basement and calls out Brandon's name, then convinces the creepy little Superboy to calm down for a goddamn second and listen to his mother.
I still believe you were a blessing that fell to this earth.
Her words of matriarchal love seem to assuage the young lad, who tells his mom that he wants to be a good boy, he promises. But he can't do that if he's got a shard of metal in his back, so knock it the fuck off, Mom. You're not helping. God. Tori tries to apologize, but it's too late. Brandon cries out and flies up, up, and away, taking his mom high into the night sky to show her a whole new world. To kill her, because that's what he does. It's completely cold-blooded, but he just holds holds his mom out and drops her. At least she'll have plenty of time during freefall to think about how she shouldn't have tried adopting an alien space baby. Oh shit, y'all, the movie's almost over and the body count isn't enormous. I'm so sorry, all you big number lovers. This must be so difficult for you. Here, how about we add an entire goddamn plane to the count? Because Brandon sees one in the sky and apparently just blows it up, since its wreckage is seen the next morning. Oh hey, and listen to these nice reporters here. They're doing my counting job.
Alright, yo, peace out. See you tomorrow.